The typical structure of the brain, a simplified structure, looks like a boxing glove, which is quite neat, but here, and it contains a few 4 parts. So if you make a line along the center and then a line like so, you have 4 parts of the brain. This one a little bit more this way, so ignore this one. So you have a frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, and temporal lobe. 4 lobes. Okay, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe. Okay, so frontal lobe is for motor, is for consciousness and making decisions and thinking and recalling memories and so forth, and planning movement and carrying out action. Parietal lobe is for sensation. Okay, it's, for example, touch, pressure, pain, temperature, from skin or scalp muscles, or even from the organs, internal organs. Then occipital is for seeing, visual, anything to do with visual, occipital.
Okay. And temporal lobe has to do with things like auditory, hearing. There is a smell in that some area here. There is a taste here. Okay, and then there's also the hippocampus, which is for memory, coming in this area, and also the amygdala, which is for fear. This is the view of the brain seen from the lateral view, from the side. And as you can see, there's 3 things you can see immediately. One is this huge white area here. That is your cerebrum, or the forebrain. This here is your cerebellum. Okay, it is tucked under the posterior portion of the brain, so that it would kind of be like in this area here. Okay, involved in coordinating movement and balance. And this is a portion of of the brainstem, which continues and spans within the brain. So this is the little stack that protrudes out from the brainstem, and it's called the medulla.
Okay, so we will now begin to name the different grooves of the brain, the major ones. Grooves are called sulci, okay, or sulcus with the US at the end for singular, sulcus plural. So here, the first sulcus is here, called the central sulcus. Runs right along the center here. Okay, the next are these 2, running on 2 sides of the central sulcus. These are called precentral and postcentral sulcus. Next you have this big sulcus here that separates this part of the brain from the temporal lobe, and because this sulcus is very deep, we call it a fissure, and it's a lateral fissure. Lateral because it's on the side. Okay, so central sulcus, precentral sulcus, postcentral sulcus, lateral fissure. Then within the temporal lobe itself, you have the superior and inferior temporal sulci. Superior, inferior temporal sulci. Within the parietal lobe here, you have a sulcus. It's called intraparietal sulcus. Within the parietal lobe, intra with an A, intraparietal sulcus. Then you have a sulcus here that separates the parietal lobe from the occipital lobe, called parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay, then there's another sulcus here, but you can't see it here. You have to cut it in cross-section. That will be called the calcarine sulcus. We'll see that later. Okay, so those are all the sulci. So here, we said sulci are grooves, but the bumps, they're the gyrus. Okay, so here's a bump, then all of these, you can see the bumps here. So we'll only talk about the major ones. So within here, between the precentral sulcus and central sulcus, this area, this is your called precentral gyrus. So precentral sulcus, precentral gyrus. This area here, this is called the postcentral gyrus. Okay, it's between central sulcus and postcentral sulcus.